They thought she was a myth. A whisper shared in panic over encrypted comms, a last-minute warning as a death squad disappeared into static. The Galactic Empire had ruled for 9,000 years, and in that span, they'd crushed 1,000 rebellions and eradicated every anomaly that challenged their supremacy. But they had never dealt with a human like her. When the Admiral's orders came down, no one questioned them. That was protocol. The target, a rogue operative on the uncharted world of Cyber 9. Human designation, Baba Yaga. Mission, terminate with extreme prejudice. 4 elite teams were assembled, composed of genetically engineered Zarn troopers, Zarek telepaths, and the Empire's top human turncoat. They were the best. They didn't even make it to her doorstep. The first transmission went dark 3 minutes after touchdown. The last words were screams and a sound no one could describe, metal tearing inside bone. Command assumed atmospheric interference. They sent a scout drone. It returned in pieces. Empire intelligence reviewed historical data on the myth. A woman of Slavic descent, unsanctioned enhancements, declared Kia 3 decades prior. Unconfirmed sightings spanned centuries. No aging. No capture. Always alone. Rumors only. Until now. They authorized Project Obsidian. A force of 75 operators, each with 24 confirmed kills, equipped with anti-psi dampeners, stealth field generators and incinerator rounds. One by one, their heartbeats flatlined on central monitoring. 30 seconds apart, rhythmic. Deliberate. Someone was playing with them. A single data fragment survived the slaughter. Audio only. One voice, low and cold. You sent children. I bury children. By then, panic crept into the Empire's command structure. Rumors spread among the lower ranks, stories of an old woman walking through fire, carrying the skulls of her enemies. Whispers of a black forest that grew overnight around Cyber 9's landing zone. Command quarantined the system, sealed records, and purged files. That should have ended it. It didn't. The Black Division, a name not officially recognized, was activated. 6 ships, no insignias, filled with biogenetic horrors and kill-programmed machines. Their mission was to not only eliminate Baba Yaga, but to erase the world she stood on. When they reached orbit, Cyber 9 was gone. Not destroyed, gone. No mass signature. No gravitational displacement. Empty space. Back on the capital world of Virex Prime, a single message appeared in the Emperor's private channel. No source. No trace. Just one line. I moved the planet. Try again. The Empire choked on its fear. But pride is a heavy drug, and a dying empire always chooses aggression over humility. They sent the phalanx, 5,000 war machines, accompanied by psychic nullifiers and planetary scourers. Every precaution, every failsafe. Their flagship, Unquestioned Dominion, broadcast its coordinates publicly, a show of strength. And yet, one by one, those coordinates fell silent. Then came the last signal. Static. A long pause. A human voice. Calm female. You still don't understand. I'm not hiding from you. I'm waiting. Recruitment rates plummeted across the outer sectors. Young officers faked illnesses. Convicts scheduled for conscription committed suicide in holding cells. The Empire's propaganda division tried to rebrand her as a hallucination, a rogue AI corrupted by myth. But stories kept spreading. Not from humans. Humans were too terrified to speak, but from the aliens. The ones who had seen her. The Tsar Collective tried to form an alliance with the Empire to eliminate her. Their ambassador's ship arrived in orbit over Virex Prime. Its crew was found in a single pile, every bone removed from their bodies, arranged alphabetically. No sign of entry. No distress beacon. Just a child's doll made of flesh and polished bone placed in the captain's chair. The Emperor himself finally addressed the issue in a public speech. He declared Baba Yaga a Class Omega threat and offered 10 million credits for her head. That was the last time anyone saw him alive. His head appeared 3 days later inside the Imperial Senate chamber. His eyes were sewn open with thread spun from what analysts concluded was solar silk, harvested from a dwarf star, impossible to obtain without direct access to stellar forges. She had been there, but no one saw her. The ruling council fell into chaos. Systems began seceding without permission. Fleets abandoned their posts. Some even attempted to join her, not out of loyalty but fear. Every force sent to find her never returned, and in their absence, ghost signals followed. Messages from soldiers who had once been proud to serve now whispering madness, their voices mutilated into monotone chants. She is the last judgment. She remembers the Empire before the stars. We were warned. The Empire's war historians reviewed classified human archives, long buried since Earth's absorption into the galactic core. One detail stood out, a note from a pre-space-era Earth general. You do not summon Baba Yaga. You survive her. That wasn't an exaggeration. It was doctrine. Deep within the vault of forbidden archives, behind layers of psychic locks, they found a sealed file. Code-named Witch Protocol. Dated from Earth year 2067. The file described a human experiment gone rogue, a woman enhanced beyond any metric, designed to be the ultimate asymmetric countermeasure. Her creators died testing her. The lab was vaporized. But someone survived. She took her name from myth and vanished. She didn't age. She didn't die. And she remembered. Back then, the governments of Earth had made a pact. Never speak her name. Never hunt her. Never cross the lines she drew in red. But the Empire had never respected warnings, and now it faced something it couldn't understand, an enemy with no nation, no army, no weaknesses. Only purpose. Every weapon used against her failed. Energy blades shattered. Plasma burned cold. Psychic attacks rebounded. Time dilation fields malfunctioned. She moved through barriers like mist. And where she walked, reality bent in mourning. A former Empire assassin turned rebel tried to explain it. He'd seen her once, during a mission on the Ashen Moons. He returned without his team, shaking, whispering. She looked at me like I was a broken toy. Then she let me live. That's what scares me the most. Whole sectors stopped responding. The black forests that grew overnight were spreading. Not just on Cyber 9, on Empire worlds. Organic metal trees, twisted and humming with forgotten energy, sprouting from the foundations of military academies, palaces, prisons. And in each one, a skull. They weren't warnings. They were reminders. Humanity, the Empire had thought, was tamed. Absorbed. Reduced to just another species in the galactic machine. But they never understood what Earth truly produced. Not just warriors, not just thinkers. It produced outliers. Monsters in human skin. Survivors of extinction-level stupidity. And among them walked Baba Yaga. She didn't speak much. When she did, her words outlived her enemies. The galactic elite began vanishing. Not assassinated, forgotten. Whole families erased from records. Their buildings hollowed, their names removed from memory like ash blown from a pyre. No one could trace the method. Every data search looped back to corrupted files, as if history itself obeyed her command. She stood at the edge of a broken world, untouched by time or trauma, the air around her bending like heat off scorched metal. The bodies at her feet weren't trophies. They were lessons. The Empire still hadn't learned. The executioner class, an elite bred for brutality, descended without announcement. No hails. No demands. Just black pods punching through atmosphere like divine punishment. 300 soldiers, no names, just numbers stitched into armor. They didn't scream when they died. They didn't get the chance. Her blades weren't made of steel. They didn't shimmer with technology. They were made of silence, the kind that comes before a scream. She tore through them like a sculptor through clay. When the final one fell, his neural core was still transmitting. Someone, somewhere, watched as he crumpled into dust. The Empire responded with desperation wrapped in logic. Operation Cleanse was initiated. 6 moons in nearby systems were sterilized. Forests burned. Civilian outposts vaporized. The logic was simple. Deny her sanctuary, scorch the galaxy until there was no place left to hide. But she wasn't hiding. She was already on the capital moon. 1 week later, Virex Prime's second sun didn't rise. It hadn't been destroyed, it had been stolen. Its energy siphoned, its gravity collapsed, leaving only a bleeding wound in space. The high astral theorists concluded that such a feat required technology or power centuries beyond comprehension. And at the center of that void, a single vessel floated. No engine. No signal. Just one figure standing atop its hull, cloak billowing in vacuum, watching. Attempts to approach the vessel ended in disappearance. No explosions. No alarms. Just vessels crossing the invisible threshold and ceasing to exist. Sensors recorded screaming. Not audio. Data screaming, binary distorted into something that wanted to be human. Fleet Marshal Avon Corps personally authorized the first multi-sector purge in over 500 years. He promised to rewrite the rules of war. Instead, he rewrote the rules of death. His fleet never reached its destination. Mid-jump, their ships scattered across systems, spatially intact but emptied. No crew. No corpses. Just weapons arranged on floors like offerings. On every bridge, a message appeared. Still not enough. What disturbed analysts wasn't the message. It was the language, archaic Russian, crossbred with Old Church Slavic, and something no AI could decode. When translated, it carried weight. The kind that cracked psyches. An emergency council convened in the obsidian chambers beneath Sector 1. Only 3 members attended in person. The rest hid behind quantum projections, scared to be physically traceable. Proposals ranged from temporal manipulation to planetary suicide bombing. Nothing held weight. Everything they had thrown at her came back empty. Sometimes it came back wearing their faces. She began to speak through survivors. Not directly. Her words would echo through their minds days after encounters. They would wake up carving forests into walls, writing poetry in blood, humming lullabies no one remembered. When asked what they saw, they wept and said, "I wasn't supposed to come back." The Council of Oracles, psionics tethered to the life force of the Empire, was brought in for an answer. They were expected to see truth through time. Instead, they saw her. Not her form, but her weight. One oracle's final words before immolation were, "She's what comes after hope dies." On the edge of the Damocles Rift, a mercenary band calling themselves the Final Hand thought they could claim the bounty. They broadcast every step, planetfall, approach, engagement. Over 1 billion systems tuned in. Their last transmission showed them walking into a grove of black trees. The feed continued, but not them. The camera kept broadcasting. For 6 hours it showed the forest, empty, still. Then came movement, a doll walking, handmade, jerky limbs. It sat in front of the camera and sang. Its voice was hers. The stream never ended. Even now, it's still broadcasting. No one dares shut it off. Internal Empire collapses began shortly after. Not from combat, but ideology. Officers refused orders. Lower-ranked humans began praying to her, not in faith, but in fear. "The old crone," they whispered. "Mother of ashes. The final debt." She never corrected them. She didn't care what they called her. She cared what they remembered. An ancient penal colony once sealed shut, X9GR, became a temple overnight. Inmates escaped and returned willingly, carving her symbol into their skin. When Empire security tried to retake it, they were repelled not by weapons, but by gravity itself reversing. They drowned in air. Meanwhile, across known space, data cores began corrupting with phrases no one typed. She walked into hell and made it home. Every empire burns eventually. She just lights the match. We gave her nothing. She returned the favor. The propaganda machine failed. They pushed stories of her weakness. None held. One fake capture photo was released. Within 12 minutes, Every person who viewed it died of spontaneous neural collapse. Entire media divisions went dark. Not a single AI could scrub her name. So they tried bargaining. Through emissaries, through ancient enemies, through twisted means, they offered planet, power, secret. She responded with silence. Not apathy, absence. Whole systems where her name was uttered too many times simply ceased functioning. Machines rusted overnight. Quantum processors degraded into sand. They tried religion. A manufactured church arose, worshipping her as a goddess of balance. It was eradicated 3 days later, by her. Their high priest's mouth was sewn shut with black thread from his own shadow. His lungs were filled with paper, pages torn from false scripture. A rogue fleet commander tried surrender. He abandoned his post, deactivated weapons, and begged forgiveness on his knees. She spared him. But the next day, he jumped into a sun. His final note: "She didn't kill me. That's worse." Across the empire, a change began. Not revolution, retreat. Colonies self-isolated. Worlds scrubbed space traffic. Even the war-born species, bred in vats for loyalty and slaughter, began killing their masters in dreams. They woke with her voice in their heads. You were born to end them. She wasn't leading a rebellion. She was becoming contagion. Academics labeled her the narrative virus. A phenomenon where reality bends not to force but to story. She became the story. The one thing no empire can survive, an idea with teeth. The Dras Federation, once allies of the empire, offered a strike weapon capable of collapsing a dimension. It was stolen mid-transaction. Not by armies. By her. She returned the device 10 seconds before detonation, with their genetic code burned into it. They detonated anyway. Their species now only exists in echoes. The Empire's final defense was the Architect, a world-sized AI older than the throne, with the power to rewrite matter. They asked it for a solution. It shut down. Its final line: "I remember her." The ruling elite fled. Some to stasis. Some to pocket realities. One to a mirror dimension where cause precedes effect. But she found them. And in every place they ran, they left behind a message carved in bone. She waits. And then, one day, for the first time in history, the Empire declared a ceasefire with an individual. The Empire was already dead. It just didn't know when to stop breathing. In the hollowed-out ruins of its last citadel, command codes flickered without connection. Every admiral, every overseer, every flesh-puppet ruler had vanished, taken or destroyed. What remained were children in uniforms, hoping to delay the inevitable. No doctrine, no chain of command, only protocol loops screaming in dead languages. She didn't descend. She rose. Not from the void, but from the stories they'd tried to bury. Each myth the Empire deleted, each human tale they censored, each whisper scrubbed from databanks, she pulled back into reality. Not metaphorically. Literally. The Empire's past crimes stood behind her, walking, breathing, judging. The elite remnants, the final 6 war minds, formed a conclave in orbit over the shattered moon, Hestura. They swore an oath to end her or die trying. Their minds were quantum-forged, thought faster than time. They calculated 10 million outcomes. Only one survived longer than a minute. In it, they didn't attack. They begged. She answered by collapsing every algorithm into a single line of truth. You already lost. Hestura fell inward. Not detonated, imploded by its own fear. Not even gravity survived. The recordings showed nothing. Just a flicker. Then absence. Below, on the planet of Varn, she walked through smoke and prayer. Not a single civilian touched. Her wrath knew precision. Children left gifts for her. Twigs shaped into bones, poems made of dust. She took nothing. Yet every system she passed through began to warp. Reality folded like parchment around her. Physics bent to acknowledge her presence. The Empire's last plan wasn't a weapon. It was a doorway. Constructed in the silence of 30 black holes, powered by the screams of stars, The archway was designed to expel her into non-existence. A metaphysical trap meant to erase her from all timelines, all memory, all possibility. She walked into it willingly. They watched as the rift swallowed her. Instruments showed negative entropy. Files stopped aging. Wars paused. Birds began singing on worlds where sound had been banned for centuries. They celebrated for 12 minutes. Then the archway screamed. Not alarm. Not damage. Laughter. From inside the rift came a voice never recorded before, yet familiar to every soul who had ever known fear. You tried to unmake me, but I made myself. The archway ruptured. Not exploded, reversed. All energy, all time, all erased possibilities surged back into existence. Planets that had died came back wrong. Systems rebirthed inside out. Beings returned fused with their guilt. Whole sectors flooded with memory, overwhelming every AI, every consciousness. Then she stepped out. Her eyes weren't human anymore. They weren't eyes. They were stories. Living, ancient, angry. Those who looked into them remembered crimes they never committed. Her presence alone turned remorse into weaponry. She didn't raise a hand. She simply spoke. You made monsters of us. Then were shocked when we learned to bite. The voice echoed through warships. They turned their guns on each other. Not hacked. Persuaded. Commanders wept as they pressed the triggers. Soldiers disarmed themselves, then used their bones as weapons. Peace through despair. The Empire's last hope, the chronoseed buried at the heart of Soul's old ruins, activated without command. It tried to rewind 10,000 years. Time bent. Galaxies flickered backward. But she didn't. She remained still, outside time's grasp, walking forward as reality unraveled and reformed in loops trying to eject her. She reached the seed. Whispered into it. It withered. Time reset anyway, just not how they planned. Not to peace. Not to order. But to reckoning. Each loop brought her closer. Each universe a step. And in each one, the Empire died a different way. The spiral assembly of outer judges, entities who watched timelines like shepherds, attempted to lock her inside a sealed branch of unreality. They called her an anomaly. She replied, then rewrite the rules. They tried. They failed. Their thrones melted into rivers of forgotten names. The galactic center began to shift, not just in mass, but in narrative gravity. She wasn't a person anymore. She was a fixed point, a gravitational anchor for causality. Around her, history stabilized. Away from her, it fragmented. Species forgot their own names. Stars pulsed in Morse code warnings. One by one, old enemies crawled back to kneel. Not to beg. To confess. She forgave none. Even the last emperor, long thought lost in the slip void, emerged. His body was grafted to a weaponized throne, his tongue replaced by a language that commanded sons. He addressed her directly, invoking every old right of dominion, every sacred threat the Empire had left. She smiled once. Just once. It broke him. His ship turned inside out. The hull became mirror. His face was found burned into the walls of 400 dead moons, screaming without end. Every one of his descendants was born mute. Then she walked across stars. Planets no longer tracked her position. They tracked her shadow. Her myth bent light. Bent logic. She visited the oldest prison in the galaxy. Not to destroy it, but to unlock every forgotten voice buried inside. Souls used as currency were set free. The economy of suffering collapsed. She entered the library of ends, a place even gods forgot. Inside, it was written, when the story ends, the one who still walks shall write the next. She took the pen. Then the Empire, finally understanding its own irrelevance, vanished. Not a war. Not a revolution. A deletion. Worlds woke up without memory of their masters. Chains turned to vapor. Towers became trees. Maps redrew themselves, centering her path. And yet, she did not rule. She did not speak. She simply kept walking. From one scar to the next. Not to conquer, but to remind. The legend of Baba Yaga, once whispered by children, now echoed across space in every frequency. Not as a warning, not as hope, but as law. When new species rose and found old ruins, they asked what had come before. The answer was always the same. We made gods. But one of them remembered she was human. And in the quiet places, beneath new stars, when shadows moved against logic, when truth walked without feet, the old phrase would rise. If she's coming, don't run. Kneel. Because the Empire sent everything it had to kill her. And nothing ever came back.